Hi everyone, this is Killshot99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9. Where is Rick Grimes? Yes, this was the fear. Everybody had the fear, like, there's going to be all these questions if Rick makes it, if Rick survives it, that we're going to be asking. We're going to be looking for Easter eggs. You better believe we are, so we might as well kick off the conversation right here, right now, today. That's what we're going to talk about. Got some really good theories out there. Hopefully you guys like them. I do want to say thank you for being here on Sunday morning. We're going to have 5 live streams today. This is a celebration of the role of Rick Grimes and Andrew Lincoln. So it is going to be right now, 3 o'clock. We're going to do another one, 8 o'clock, 10:15, 11:15. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Just hold tight. Look for the announcements and notifications to show up. Do want to give a couple special super chat shout outs to Villar, who says, hello, Army, Kill, Steph, Emmy, Kel, Sweet Tommy, sponsors, patrons, of course, all the super chatters. And then a follow-up with a little happy birthday wish to David. So thank you. Villar as well, super chatting that. Special super chat to David. Happy birthday. So many blessings, and it's a blessing for me to have each and every one of you here today to talk about what is going to go down. And look, I know there's a lot of things happening. There's The Walking Dead, which is going to take precedence. There's some good football games, all, those sports fans out there. But today is going to be a little bit about the helicopter. Now, A and B mean something to me, and I put this theory out there a while back, and a couple people, shrugged their nose and kind of walked away, kind of like they did when I talked about the helicopter, and kind of like they did when I talked about Maggie. But I'm still going to hold on to this helicopter transitional into possibly a whisper story. I'll talk about that in 1 second, because I got another super chat, and in that super chat, it is FIFA Mac who says, I love comments like this. You blow me away. FIFA Max says, I think your channel is the best. Love from Ireland. Listen to the playback. And one thing that I do want to say is we're doing some of these early streams as well, so I appreciate our domestic viewers. But a lot of these are to really reach out to our international audience. We have just a great support network all across the globe. And, we did an earlier stream yesterday, the ones on Sundays. And that way, people across the ocean don't have to stay up till 5, 6 o'clock every time we do one of these. I do appreciate, though, that you guys are watching the playbacks as well, so thank you so much. Scott Kernan kills. I can't believe it's 31 October 10, November 4th, 2018. So that is the life and the appearance of Rick Grimes. I'm not going to say the life, because we know that we're going to have new life. But it is about to get interesting, very interesting. And thank you so much. So many great comments here. So let me get called up, because we got a ton of people watching here. And believe me, I love when you guys show up in full force like this. Our numbers are going to be absolutely amazing throughout the day. Tonight, I'm just going to say be prepared for the countdown and the reaction video. There's probably going to be thousands in there. So I know it's going to be hard to see every chat and everything that goes on. And usually with those, there's a lot of super chats. So we'll be jumping around from topic to topic. So a few weeks ago, I did mention, and not everybody agreed. So I do have to use that as a basis once again. There's a 6-year time skip. So right now, we're at 18 months. So we've only probably seen this helicopter one time in the last 18 months. Remember, Jadis had the helicopter there. Negan's been in jail, so he saw it. Probably not, top of conversation. Rick's seen it. Jadis, obviously, she has a network there. But in the last 18 months, they've just sort of been going about doing their own thing. So maybe they've been conserving fuel. Maybe they've been doing additional research. Whatever, this helicopter group has been doing. But now they're back. And I think that's important, because we know that they're desperate. They're looking for people, and they do tell her, don't stand us up like you did last time, or there'll be consequences. So it doesn't sound like they are a friendly group of people to deal with. That's all I can say. I know we're hoping, right? It's like, Rick's going to be saved. He's going to be saved. Rick is going to be put in a helicopter with people that we know nothing about. So I'm worried. Now, there's that side of us and that side of me that's happy that, okay, he's not going to turn, that we see. But once he gets on that helicopter, all bets are off. Our minds are going to run wild. The theories are going to be out there. And you know what happens once he gets on that helicopter? Boom. 6 years gone by. 6 years gone. So now we don't know. The movie may tell us a little bit, but let me tie that back into a theory, because when I heard A and B, I know people said after, before, bitten, not bitten, all of those things. I'm thinking alpha beta. When I hear AB, I'm thinking alpha beta, which just goes right into the whispers. I know it's not comic arc-ish. That's the one thing we get all the time. Anytime I come up with a theory, the first thing I hear with people that want to push back is, dude, it's not the way the comics go. And at this point, we can't rely on the comics. Carl's story is not the way the comics went. Rick's story is not the way the comics went. So we can kind of scratch a lot of that. It's not in the comics. So the whispers can be whatever the whispers want to be at this point. Let's be clear with that. I could be wrong, but I could also be right. I got a couple super chats I'm going to jump to, and I'm going to get back to that in 1 second. Hopefully you guys remember the stream. Christina Wiggins says, I want to say how much my mom Molly and I love listening to your streams, Walking Dead. My son is autistic and loves listening to you as well. Christina, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys watching and the support, and I'm glad that you're here, and hopefully we do provide some entertainment value. In addition to the show, we did a survey a little bit earlier today, or poll, and that's one thing that I wanted to know, is I just wanted to get feedback of why people participate in the streams and what they like about it. But that's it's a beautiful story, and I'm glad that we have that network. I've also gotten some real good comments from many of you as well. Some different stories where people just got out of the hospital and they couldn't watch television and they kind of listened. And I am extremely humbled and flattered that you guys could be listening to anything on the radio or other stations, and you choose to be here. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. Wilson, thank you so much, Wilson, from across the ocean as well. Wilson says, 6 years, I bet Tara is still around, and I bet you're right. And I bet you Pete D is scowling somewhere. And June Smith says, oh my Lord, take this soul and meet at the bottom of the river. This is a sad day. Been restless all night. Good morning, 999. Good morning, June. The lyrics are going to be extremely powerful as well. So great comments. Thank you. Early on a Sunday morning. So Scott Kernan says, I wonder how Judith will interact with the whispers. Probably not very friendly. Judy is, that's my wild card. I'm really looking forward to that. And Shane Hudson says, if Andy never wants to come back in any capacity, do you think they will still eventually tell what happened to him? I think that is a wonderful, wonderful question. So one of the platforms that I've been on for a long time is that this show will be different to each individual person. If you need him to die and you need closure, I think you'll be able to say he's dead. If you need it open-ended, I think you'll be able to say it's open-ended. If you need a theory where he's traumatized, drugged, safe, I think this is going to fuel almost any theory that you want to see, except for the fact, well, you know what? If you want to say he's on that helicopter and he turns and eats all the people on the helicopter, you could validate that too, at least until we see otherwise. Home Flaherty, I can't say what A and B stands for. I think it's just too much of a speculation, hypothetical type of deal at this point. I know what I think it will eventually mean, but could it mean after? Could it mean before? Yes, it could mean any of those things until we hear otherwise. So, kind of what I could see it meaning, and I don't know if we'll ever get the backstory, we could see, we will see, beta and alpha. And I feel like it's very possible that in the TV show that they could be extremely organized. Almost militarily organized. And 6 years is a big time skip. So one of the things that I kind of put out there, a theory a while back, is this A, B, they adapt some names. They've already got some name changing, right? Like Jadis is Jadis to them, but she's Anne. So if these people flying the helicopters, which I do think are much, much different than Georgie's group, were researchers or trying to recruit people, building something, and they did have a means, they had some arsenal, I would not be surprised if they turn into the Whispers. I know I'm going to get it again. I'm going to get like people scratching their head. it's not a done deal, but I'm saying it's not impossible because, once again, we are where we are right now. So we're 18 months and a group is recruiting. So 6 years later would give them a lot of time to run out of helicopter fuel, to their groups to break up, for their society to sort of crumble a little bit, for the experiments not to work. All of those things happen. And what if this group does become, they realize, look, all the experimenting in the world is not going to work. We need to get out there and get among them. We need to get out there and be with them. We need to see it firsthand. That's going to be, the groups we're trying to advance. And in a weird sort of way, I think the only thing that you're going to understand, the only way you're going to understand the walkers and the how it happens and all the nuances of that is to actually be among them. And that would transition a Whisperer story arc. So how do we get to that? We may not know. And Pete M., that's kind of what I'm going with. You know, could that be Beta talking on the walkie-talkie that later we're either going to have a backstory, or later maybe we won't ever know? Exactly. And I know it's a weird sort of, right, Tommy? So I said evolution by de-evolution. That in order to understand it, you've got to survive in it. That, you know, right now at their point, they may think, let's take them, let's experiment, let's do these things. But it doesn't mean it's going to work. Jimmy's Jammin' says, are you kidding, Kills? Rick will jump up, beat down all the helicopter and fly it into the sunset. You know what? It could turn into like a Western. I mean, they're filming it like a Western. So let's say A and B are just letters they throw out there, and later on an A and a B really becomes Alpha and Beta. You know, two different styles. A leader and a second in command. 6 years, I think, is a big deal. So for 6 years to go by. Well, Wilson, that's a good question. And we did touch on this just a little bit, I think, yesterday. So in 6 years, surely Morgan would have returned. Maybe. We don't know if Morgan has been back. He's visited and left because Fear is now going to be running so far behind like it did initially. So will there be another time skip in Fear? Will Fear be its own show? Will they tie it back together if they need to later on if ratings are a problem? Or will they just let it survive for a couple seasons, see how they do? So yes, 6 years would definitely be time for Morgan to get back. So Shane Hudson says, what about a possible villain Rick in a final season? Shane, I don't think they would do that to Rick's character. But let's just say this, okay? Let's say, because we can make up any theory at this point. Rick's saved, captured, experimented with, traumatized, drugged. Heath is there, becomes a movie, kind of escape from wherever they're at. Maybe Rick and Heath tear down their operation. Maybe Rick and Heath could tear down whatever military operation this is, and then the leaders of it are stuck with nothing. You know, what if Rick does torch the place at some point, and then this group between right now, this episode today, and the 6-year time period merges into what we know as the Whisperers? They're close enough. Now, what would happen to Rick along the way? Possibly, if I don't want to see that, but do you think it's possible that Rick could be drugged and jailed and all of those things by this group? Because I know the question is going to be, well, why wouldn't he get back to see Michonne? Why wouldn't he get back to see Judy? Why wouldn't he be a part of that? And the answer is probably because he can't. And I know we don't want to see a Rick Grimes in that capacity, but also you got to understand the trauma that he's going through. He is already hallucinating. You can't say that Rick is in a normal state of mind. He looks over in tonight's episode and sees people, and he's not sure. I mean, he's not mentally stable at this point. So somebody just typed lame. Do you think that Rick is all of a sudden going to click and it's going to be magical and nothing's going to be delusional anymore? This could be a permanent state of psychosis for him. This is going to be a problem. Yes, there's blood loss, but it's not normal for people to be riding along on a horse and then see dead people from their past, and to be walking over dead bodies, and to see people running past them on a bridge, and then when they're real, they don't know what's real and what's not real. I mean, he's pretty far gone. It's another theory. It's not just about what we want Rick to be. It's about what Rick Grimes becomes. Rick Grimes could become dead. Rick Grimes could become well. He could become a hero. There's a lot of things that this is going to do, and we're going to be talking about it for a while. I really feel like that. So I got another super chat. I want to jump over to Scott, who says, there's no way Rick is ending up on a pike. I don't know if the whispers are really about pikes and non-pikes and those type of things right now. So I don't think he ends up on a pike either. And I don't think his face is going to be worn by someone else. I really don't think that they're going to keep him alive just to do that to him. Like, hey, we got a great idea. Let's save the greatest hero of The Walking Dead. And, yeah, at the end of the season, we'll just put his head on a pike just to piss people off more. It's not going to happen. I mean, I see that as a common sense business decision. And why I think it's important is, let's go back to May. So back in May, and then early in June, there were many people that said Rick Grimes was going to die. And how many people remember my rationale for why I said he would not die? And it's not the hope theory. Hope is one, but there was a bigger reason. And some people say it makes the world go round. So, what was the number one reason why I said Rick could not die? Money. And I put a figure of $100 million plus on the Walking Dead franchise. And people asked me, and they said, yeah, but the story kills the story. And I said, I understand that. But if there is no show, you tell no story. So, Rick Grimes t-shirts, bobbleheads, syndication, the comic book Rick Grimes, continuing people have that interest in both, is money. And if almost any of you were in that situation and jobs relied on you, you're probably going to make the same situation. Look, you can make the decision and say, kill off Rick, and then let's gamble, and maybe the writers have a job next year, maybe the producers have a job next year, maybe they don't. It's a tough decision to make. So if you make a decision and you say, let's keep that hope, let's keep it open-ended, and I have been beating that drum for 5 months now and said, you cannot kill off the franchise, you have to leave it open-ended and leave just a small ounce of possibility he could come back. And one conscious, killing him would be final, done. And then look, maybe you get through it. Maybe it works. And notice I'm using a lot of maybe. Maybe it works. Maybe people love the new characters. Maybe they rally around them. But even just doing the stream the other night, when I said Rick lives, oh, by the way, Magna, they're like, yeah, Magna. Rick lives. Oh, by the way, Judy. Yeah, Judy. But if I said Rick dies, Magna, yeah, okay, dude, we'll watch it. Yeah, maybe. It is in addition to. So as long as it's phenomenal. I can't describe it. I can't put a finger on it. The hope that Rick provides, in addition to bringing on the new characters, works. They know it works. Alec Laura says, how's the 999 Army doing? Under 10 hours now, I'm ready. We're doing great because we're streaming, and we're going to stream again, and we're going to stream again. We're going to do this 5 times today, so we're going to have some fun. But the writers and the producers give, and they also take away. And this is what I want to prepare you for. It's not all happy-go-lucky. They have given us the hope that Rick will survive. But they have not given us the details on how dark of a picture, at what cost does Rick survive? At the cost of his sanity, at the cost of he'll never come back, at the cost of we'll never hear from him again. There's a lot that goes along with that, and I love it. I love that it's real, that it doesn't seem manufactured. There's a price to pay and there's a consequence. I agree, Emmy. We'll win, but we're going to lose. So it'll keep that interest and that intrigue, I think, for long enough. A year, 2 years, 3 years, for long enough for them to decide, Andy's coming back, he ain't coming back, we'll finish the story at some point. I do think they'll finish the story. Brandy Post says, if Georgie and Helicopter are the same people, if Maggie goes with Georgie, wouldn't she run into Rick when she returns, let everybody know about Rick? I don't think they're the same people. I think Georgie's people are the Commonwealth, and I think the Helicopter people become the Whisperers. I know I've given this roundabout theory, but I'm just going to be blunt. I'm going to be blunt and say it. Resources don't last forever. Helicopter fuel doesn't last forever. I don't think the Whisperers are going to be flying around in helicopters. I don't. But do I think it's possible that they were people before they were Whisperers? Do I think that they had resources before they were Whisperers? I think that's definitely a possibility. And is 6 years time skip long enough for them to recruit and build a base? Absolutely. Will we ever hear the backstory? Maybe, maybe not. But I think we will get clues because we're going to start to ask the questions, and the writers will probably put those Easter eggs in there. Like, where did the Whisperers come from? We'll get some of that at the end of the season. But you start seeing, scrapped helicopter parts, then that's going to be a big question. Like, wait a minute. Did they capture Rick 6 years ago? Did Rick escape? Did they kill Rick? I mean, it is going to create a whole lot of additional questions if the helicopter people are. And their code names should be a little bit of a hint, right? A, B, Jadis, some possibilities. Scott Kernan wants Rick's exit to be standalone and graceful. Well, I think it's going to be graceful. And I think grace to a degree. Let me ask this question to everybody. Do you need the writers to show you what grace is? Or is it possible that people will find grace in their own viewing of it, their own interpretation of it? Do you think the writers are going to put something up there and say, accept this because it's graceful? Or do you think that it's going to be like, wait, in a weird sort of way, Rick living and suffering and the reaction of people, to me, is graceful. I mean, I think it is. There's relationships and there's building and there's Jadis might really be genuinely extending a hand to try to help him, and where she's been perceived as bad. Now, she may be hurting him and helping him at the same time. And I think you have to be careful just to get on one or the other and say, well, I needed Rick to turn into a walker and walk up and everybody cry and have 3 episodes of grieving in order to enjoy and bring closure to it. I think you have to be careful with that because that is the minority opinion. And I have, and in fact, and I don't want to create this concept because we got so many awesome people, but I blocked someone who just kept forcing that opinion on people, and there was nothing positive. And it was, I hate this. Gimple's stupid. They should have done it this way. All right, I get it. You said it one time. Then the next stream, I hate this. Gimple does this. They're screwing the fans over. It's like, all right, you got to pass. And after like 4 times of typing this, I'm like, man, this is a bitter dude that is doing nothing but just disrupting. You don't even have an opinion. You're just forcing your opinion on other people. And that's just not conducive. I mean, you've got to be able to look at it, view it, interpret it, analyze it, talk about it, not just say, this is the way I see it, and if you don't agree with the way I see it, you're garbage, you're trash. And we had to say peace out to somebody that at one time was very engaged and very active in our streams, but it's just It's just not adding value. It's a negative connotation. You can disagree, but you can't. You got to see the bigger platform if you're going to be a fan of the show. I don't even know if that's a fan. Rob says, over under 40% loses arm at the bridge. Rob, you're killing me, man. You are killing me with that. 0% chance Rick loses his arm, ever. 0%. How many of the group will be gone in 6 years? That we will be, Wilson with a super chat, that we will be closely looking at today. I think that's going to be an Easter egg in itself, Wilson, is we're going to be looking and trying to figure out what happened with Daryl, what happened with Michonne. It's exciting because of this. Instead of the grieving, of 3 episodes of grieving over people, we're going to see what their current state of mind is. And I think that's so much better. At least it is for me. I want to know their current state instead of... And I think we'll be able to figure out who's been grieving without necessarily having to see that action take place. I don't want to see them. I don't see people crying over Rick for more than a couple of minutes. Amy Ferrero. Hey, Andy, when is Rick coming back? Andy, if you're watching, please respond to that super chat. The 80s Slasher Librarian with a super chat. Thank you so much. Type a follow-up question if you can. And moderators, if you see a follow-up question, I think they put in the super chat and didn't type down below. Omega Speeds, maybe the guy who talked to Jadis who said, do you got an A or B, is beta. I'm okay with that. I definitely think if my theory works out where the helicopter people are the Whispers, then I certainly could think it would be beta. And I guess we'll listen for the voice, right? We'll go back and listen. It's like, who was that on the walkie-talkie? You know what? There'll be YouTube videos about it. I mean, it's going to be like, was Beta on the walkie-talkie? I will bet by next week someone will do a video and ask, was Beta on the walkie-talkie? Let's see. Scott Kernan, Talking Dead will make an announcement tonight. Yes, I think it'll be... it might be a little too early for the movie, but I think that's what everybody's hoping for, is that Scott Gimple makes that announcement. Shane Hudson, the shots fired at camp needs discussing also. Yes, they will, and that'll probably be, Shane, it's probably going to be part of our reaction video tonight of how they stopped fighting, and the Civil War should finally be over. That'll be something, I think, to tie into Wilson's comment. Who's still alive, but did they finally bury the hatchet and learn to work together? And who's still in charge? Who's calling the shots? I think we'll see Aaron in charge. Lakeisha says, will Michonne hold Daryl accountable once she finds out he was trying to stop Rick? No, I don't think so. But have they talked in several years? Maybe not. Because we think that Daryl might be the person that's kind of out in the woods living on his own. So let me throw this out to the group. What will we see after the time skip? Will we see Aaron as the leader? Will we see Michonne with her finished charter and a government? Will Maggie still be a leader? And will Maggie feel like, okay, it's okay to take off at this point because the last 6 years have been pretty smooth? Will we see them completely rebuilt? Leave your thoughts and comments. Neil says, Michonne. Yeah, you know, how it's going to play out is going to be interesting. So we can probably give a theory, and I see several people getting there. I don't think Negan's going to be in charge. I really think Negan's still going to be in jail. I think next week we'll see Negan in jail. And here's kind of my visual of the way it will happen after Rick leaves. Judy will probably find Magnus Group, and Magnus Group is on the run and surrounded. But I'm wondering if Magnus Group has some insight into the Whisperers. And they've seen them, they know of them. And at this point, word might start to spread like, wait a minute, there is another badass group on the horizon. And then it could be time to let Negan out of jail, get Daryl's mind right, get all of those things, and rebuild their own little mini militia to take on the next big threat. And that could be a couple of decapitations that have happened, and they have their boundaries set up, and maybe they're extending their boundaries, like, we're just gradually taking over. We're moving the fence, don't come here. We're moving the fence further, don't come here. Oh, by the way, this was our fence. Let's put a couple heads on spikes here in case you do. And then they know it's for real, for real. Or Dwight shows back up as well and gives them a little bit of, hey, these people are out there. So I think it's going to be sort of a combination. Awesome, awesome comments. Appreciate all the interaction, all the involvement. We are streaming 5 times today. With that being said, we are not doing a 1-hour stream each time. They are going to be a little bit shorter, so this has hit 31 minutes. We are going to wind this one down. We're also going to do another one around 3 o'clock. It's probably about 30 minutes. Our countdown at 8 will be 30 minutes, and our first reaction video is going to be 15 or 20 minutes, and then the second reaction video is going to be a little bit longer. So I appreciate all of you guys being here. We got a couple more super chats, so we'll hang out for those. We got Leonard Walters says, I hope Rick's death won't overshadow the other cast. That is a great question. I think it will to a degree. And that was probably one of the big pushbacks that I heard when we talked about it being open-ended was, is it going to take away from the Whispers the fact that Rick is still out there somewhere? I don't think so. I think it was a necessary need. It will change it a little bit, but it's not going to... I'm not going to spend so much time thinking about Rick that I'm not worried about the Whispers, but we will talk about Rick and we will look for any clues. I'm going to ask each and every one of you, let's look for clues every single week. Hopefully we get something that'll give us a hint that he's still out there somewhere. It's not going to be Andy doing it, but it could be via radio. We could hear from Rick. It could be, you know, a body double from time to time, maybe showing him but not really showing who it is in minor roles. And then if he comes back, he comes back. Rob Smith Krause says, if someone has Lucille, who? My call is Jesus. Possibility. Or will Lucille get destroyed? And will that be the real breaking point for Negan if he hasn't seen Lucille? If he's still in jail, that's going to be 7.5 years since he's seen Lucille. Villar says, this is for 80s Slasher. Could this leak be fake to throw us off for what really goes down? Villar, let me say this. And I've been asked that question multiple times. I have heard that the people who post the spoilers, that communicate with Spoiling Dead's fan page, have access to seeing the episode. It's not like a script. So, if we are talking tonight, and I want to say, let's just assume the worst. And let's say this is a big, messing with everybody, that Rick died and we didn't see it. It would be an unbelievable shocker. Because when Spoiling Dead puts their name on something, it's a big deal. And it's not, they wouldn't do it to trick YouTube channels or people that talk about it, because when we talk about it, we say, this is courtesy of Spoiling Dead. And when they come this forward with something, it's confirmed. Which is why I had no problem talking about it. It would be the most shocking thing for me if he died. I mean, it's not. They would just have complete outrage on their website. Trust me. I know that would just be silly. Could you imagine if they put a trick out there and said, ha, 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 we wanted the YouTubers to look stupid? That wouldn't. I mean, they wouldn't. We wouldn't, because we're talking about it. And, yeah, people would leave comments and whatever. But it would be, it would have such a disastrous effect on the television show, as many people who watch the, I would say, first of all, Walter White, I don't think it'd be awesome at all. I think by even making a comment like that, you have not thought out the long-term consequences of something like that. Not only would that not be awesome, it would turn fans off to the spoiler sites, to YouTube channels, and it would turn people off to the show. It would have such a negative impact on the show at this point, so much worse than if he would have died and there was not spoilers and people talking about it, it would be bad. If people have talked about it and they've had a sense of relief and it happened, they would be angry and people would quit watching the show. I would guarantee you that. It would be more disastrous for them if that happened for viewers, because I think people would feel slighted and tricked and demoralized at the same time. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of trickery and deceit and those things. I mean, yeah, it might be something that's comical to some. It's not to me. So, just that's my perspective of it. But it would feel more like betrayal. I mean, if you've given people hope for like 3 or 4 days and all of a sudden something disastrous happened, I don't think that would be, because I think the epicness and the gracefulness is exactly the way they've said it's going to play out. Watching Rick get ripped apart by walkers and turn into a walker and walk back, there's nothing enjoyable about that. Well, Walter, for me, it's not a question of disagreeing or agreeing with the character. What I'm saying is we can have a right to what we think the character needs, but as far as this line's been cast into the ocean right now, if something like that were to happen, it would have epic, bitter consequences. I don't agree with that either. I don't agree that AMC is scummy. I don't agree that the writers suck, if that's going to be your next question. I don't think that the showrunners are garbage. I don't think the story is bad. I have a different perspective of the show. I like what Scott Gimple does. I like what Angela Kang does. I appreciate the people telling the story. I don't have any problem with them promoting it as Rick's final couple episodes to get people an understanding of it, to appreciate, to show those. I don't think it's trickery and deceit. I just don't live in that world where I'm looking for the negative connotation. All right, so with that being said, I don't want to kind of stretch this out because this is going to be a very positive Walking Dead day. I appreciate everybody who's here. I appreciate the fans of the show. Appreciate you guys being in these streams and making the show more active and more lively. We will evaluate who's fans, who's not fans for the show, and we'll see everybody at 3 o'clock. Thank you for everything that you guys do. We'll do some shout-outs then. Also want to thank all the super chatters as well. Your contribution, everything that you guys do for this channel is absolutely phenomenal. We will be doing 4 more streams. I want to catch everybody. Want to get our international audience. Also want to get just time frames for everybody to be involved in it. And as you can see, we get just a whole lot of unique perspectives by doing 11 a.m., by 3 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And then by tonight, I know there will be some people that are staying up late for all the reactions and everything we're doing. So it is going to be a packed house. The one thing I would say is tonight is going to be a lot of emotion, a lot of interest, and a lot of varying viewpoints. So be prepared for that, and let's support the Army and show our love for The Walking Dead. Talk to everybody at 3 o'clock. Have a good night. Good afternoon. Peace.